right, man. Great seeing you all. It's always fun. Look forward to it all week, man. Seeing your lovely, friendly faces in the book of Ecclesiastics. So if you got your Bibles, I want to go ahead and turn to that Ecclesiastics 4. If not, I'm going to go ahead and share screen and bring. All right, Ecclesiastics 4 and starts at verse 9 through 12. And it says, two are better than one, because if they have a good reward for their labor, for if they fall, one will lift up his companion, but woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up. Again, if two lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one be warm alone? Though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him. And a threefold cord is not quickly broken. We talk about, having friends and being connected with our brothers. And, and the thing is that a lot of don't have a real friend, unfortunately. We go through our lives, we have a lot of friends that we go out with, we hang out with, that we talk to, that we're buddies, we'll catch a football game together, we'll hang out somewhere, we'll barbecue, but never have that friend that you can say, hey, you know what? This guy's in the trenches with me. This guy's in the battle with me. This guy's in the fight with me. And we don't have that. So, I mean, the perfect example of this is, when I say, who's in your foxhole? We simply ask, who's with you in the battle? And basically, I'm sure everybody knows, but I'm just going to do it real quick for all intents and purposes. What's a foxhole? It is a defensive position, in wartime, in battle. You dig in. It's a trench, basically. It's a hole. Sometimes it's made for one person, sometimes two. Most of the time, it's 2 to 3 people. And that's your hole, and that's your defensive position. The earth that's around you is what's basically protecting you at all times. I remember being in combat and having to dig many of those, and usually, it pretty much just reaches up to your chest. So all you have is just a clear vision of your firing position, and that's about it. So that's all you do is you're just standing in this giant hole there, defending, your encampment, your position, but here we are as Christian men, and we find ourselves in the fight for our lives. I mean, because every day, we battle something, and I mean, I don't think there's a man that I know, or probably not a man here tonight, or that's going to hear this, at a latter time, that is not going through something, that's not battling something, in their personal lives, in their marital lives, with their children, at work, in different aspects. But the sad part about it is that most of the time we fight alone. We really do. We go through some of the worst, most intense battles of our lives, and we're getting fired upon from the enemy in all directions. And, sometimes our position is being overrun, but we go at it by ourselves. We're alone in it, and that's what Solomon said. He says, two are better than one, and two can overpower, the enemy, and he talks about not being alone. And here, Solomon is spewing out some of the best wisdom in the book of Ecclesiastics. Solomon, the wisest man to ever walk the earth, and we see his position saying, listen, guys, don't go at it alone. And then there was a survey of Christian men that said that, 90, I think it was like 98 to 95% Christian men don't have a brother that they can count on, that they can trust, and, I like to call it that 3 a.m. brother. You could call at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey man, I'm in a jam and I need you. And, and that other person is going to pick up the phone and he's going to reach out to you, and he's going to fight with you, no matter what your circumstances may be. And, and it says, woe to you, who is alone, woe. And, very few times in the Bible, you hear the word woe. And when you do, they're not stopping a horse. It's, it's pretty much saying it's on you now. And, what's coming at you is not good. And Solomon uses that word, woe to you, and so I'm asking tonight, do we have that friend? For me, I am blessed. Most of you guys, I know I can, that are here, and some that are not, I can count, hey, if I got to call one of you guys at 3 o'clock in the morning, I know there's not a man here that wouldn't pick up that phone. And a lot of you guys have been with me in some of the most difficult times of my life, have seen me through it, have walked through it, with me, have been there in the best of times and have rode out the worst of times in my life. And I've been blessed. I mean, if I have anything I can take from this earth, is that I've been surrounded by some of the most amazing Christian brothers that a guy can have. I mean, I can go down without a penny in my pocket, but I would always say that I am the richest man on earth because of that, because I've been blessed with a brotherhood of guys that have surrounded around me and have been there in every situation of my life. I've never can say I've been alone. And the times that I have been alone is because I've chosen to do that. I've chosen to close myself off from the world. And when I've done that, I've paid a hefty price. I've paid a serious price for that, because I've had to go through some situations in my life by myself because of pride, because of arrogance, because of just sheer stupidity. And those were the times that were hard, that were difficult. But the times where I reached out to one of you all and reached out to my brothers and just said, hey, I'm under fire. I need help. And I've had a man in that foxhole with me. So, I mean, I have no problem in saying who's in my foxhole. I can start rattling off names, and we need to be here pretty much the rest of the night. But for the average Christian man, that's not the case. So we fight, problems in our marriages on our own. We fight, problems with our children on our own. We fight work situations on our own. We fight, we battle those inner demons, whether it's lust, alcohol, pornography, doubt, fear, anxiety, and we battle alone. And that's what the enemy wants us. He wants to just pretty much put us in a situation where we're fighting by ourselves. But when we do, you're going to get overrun. You're going to get taken out. And if I look back and I see, I know a lot of men that have come up with me, in churches and at men's groups, and guys that I've known along the way. And I look back at their lives, and some of the guys are not serving God at this very moment, and some that just stopped serving altogether and just walked away from the faith. And there's always one common denominator. Those guys decided to go at it by themselves. They just simply decided, hey, I don't need anybody. I don't need counsel. I don't need a friend. You know what? I'm good. I can do this on my own, and I'll handle my own business. And that's the problem with us. I think we have that pride as men. It's like, hey, I got this. I don't need somebody helping me out. I don't need to read, an instruction booklet. I can fix this, or I can build this, or I can repair this. And there's some things in life that we just need to say, hey, I can't do this on my own. And the Christian life, being a Christian man, we cannot do this on our own, guys. We really can't. I'm sorry to tell you, you're just going to have to renounce to that fact that you will not make it towards the end of this walk on your own. You need another brother with you. If not 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. You need somebody that's in your life, another man that can challenge you, that can ask you deep questions, that, that nothing is off the table. I mean, and I'm not talking about friends that, hey, you have a barbecue with. We talk about sports. We talk about the weather. We talk about work. And, hey, how's your kids? Good. Hey, and chit chat. No. These are the guys that are going to ask you, hey, how are you in that computer situation going on? Or, hey, have you stopped that drinking? Or, hey, bro, you're having an affair. What's going on with that? Guys that can actually ask those questions, and you're not going to get offended. You're not going to get upset, and you're going to be honest with them, and you're going to talk to them about it. Because you see, the only person you're hiding from is God. God knows everything about your life. There's nothing under the sun that you're going to hide from God. But you see, as much as you say, well, that's between me and God, and we're going to work that out. Well, that's great. And that's what we should do. But somebody on the ground physically keeps us in check. You see, the greatest quarterbacks will tell you, if it wasn't for our offensive line, they're running all day, and a running quarterback can't do that. You can't live your life outside of the pocket. You need that pocket protection. So that your best quarterbacks would probably have the best offensive line in the game, because that's what keeps them safe, for them to make decisions, to make throws, to make passes, and to be that superstar on the field. But just like that, we need another man beside us that keeps us in check, who isn't impressed if we have money, if we're poor, or, what our work status is, if, we're somebody, we're nobody, that sees us for who we are, just a friend, a brother, a fellow brother in Christ, going through the same situation as we are, together, fighting the same battles. Every man here, I don't care what your story is, we fight pretty much the same battles. We all want what's best for our families. We all want what's best for our marriages. We want the very best for our children. We want to succeed in our careers. We want to be good men. We want to be good sons. We want to be great husbands. We want to be, amazing fathers. But at the same time, our inner man, the one that we don't want nobody to see, we try to just hide that from everybody else, because as long as nobody can see that, then I got everything in check. And even though on the outside, I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs, I'm too blessed to be stressed, but on the inside, we're falling apart. So it's time to get past that Facebook identity that we like to give off to the world, and let a brother come in and see who you really are. Do you have a brother that knows you when the lights are off, when nobody's looking, and it's just you and him? That brother knows your life and can call you out on it, and you're not going to get upset. Can tell you the things that are going to hurt you in a loving way, and you're going to get past it, and you're going to say, hey, you know what, you're right. Or, hey, you know what, I don't know. But have somebody who's going to check up on you like that, who's going to be there, who's going to pray with you in tough situations, who's going to hear you out when you're having, problems with your wife. You say, well, that's what my wife's for. My wife's my best friend. And we have this great relationship, and that's amazing. And that's great. But gentlemen, let me tell you something. Your wife was not created to shoulder the burdens that a man carries. And let me be very clear about that, very biblical about that. Your wife is not to burden. You are not to burden your wife with your man problems. And you say, well, no, Joe, you see, the Bible says that we're one and this and that. I agree with you, and 100%. But we were created for the work, and she was created for something else. So when we cross those fields together and we blend those in, she was not meant to shoulder your pain. She was not meant to shoulder your burden. As far as personal problems, your wife can't understand what you're going through if you're lusting for another woman, because she's another woman. She's your wife. So if you're going through that situation, you can't tell her, hey, you know what? I have this massive problem. I cannot see a woman because, I'm addressing her 24/7. Honey, what do you think I should do? Or, you know what? I just can't get on the computer because every time I do, I'm just clicking on porn. I can't stop. Your marriage is going to be destroyed. That's just it. But you can relate to another man, and you can share these things with him, and he's going to know what you're going through, and he's going to, and if he's a brother in Christ, which I'm praying that you find one like that, and you share your problems, and you share your burdens, and you carry one another. And that brother is going to deliver you through Jesus Christ to help you in your situation. Yes, there's some things you talk to your wife, you talk about your finances, you talk about what's going on with the kids, your dreams, hopes, and all that. But when it comes to your wiring and who you are and the struggles that only a man can go through, you have to go to another man. It's just that simple. It's just that plain and simple. That's the way God wired it. And, if you look at the entire Bible, you'll hear it. Iron sharpens iron. One man sharpens the other. And it goes on and on. You'll see so many verses that come right back to this, that you need a friend. You need another man in your life that's going to be with you in the fight. Because, gentlemen, every morning you wake up, you're in a war. You were in a war from the day you were born to the day you take your last breath on this earth. You are going to have to fight. Now, I cannot go to my wife and talk about battles, because that's not her thing. Her thing is what God designed her to be, my helpmate, but not to shoulder my burdens like that. That's what you're for. That's what my brothers are for. There's things that are within a marital covenant that's what she's for. And sometimes I'll have to ask advice from another friend. Hey, give me your input on this. Am I being wrong? This is my point of view. She says I'm wrong. Get in a third opinion. Say, hey, what do you think? Give me a biblical base, advice here. Give me godly advice. Pray with me and see what the Lord is showing you that maybe I'm not seeing it at this moment. And it's a system of checks and balances. The government has it between the executive branches and the legislative branches, and so it's a check and balance that God has placed in us. He said a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken. So we need that checks and balance. We need that outside force that's in us. But more than often, we go around life and we act like a like a free safety, stiff arming, a wide receiver. Just every time a brother wants to get close, hey, back off, man. Back off. This is my life. Don't get involved. Hey, this is not your business. And we keep our friends at a distance. We keep them at that superficial level. Hey, what's going on? How was the game? This and that. How's the wife, kids? Good. Hey, all right, man. No problem. And then we know that the guy next to you is going through a situation. He's hurting, but it's okay because I know he's hurting. He knows I'm hurting, but I'm not going to ask him the deep questions. He's not going to ask me, and we're going to go through life that way, and everybody's good with that. And so it's like it's an underlying agreement between us that don't ask, don't tell kind of situation. And we'll smile at the barbecues, we'll smile at work, we'll smile when we're at church, we'll smile here when we're at the group, and everything's okay. But deep down inside, there's a war, there's division, there's problems, there's hurt, but we don't want to come out and say it because we don't want to be weak. We don't want to be, the weak link among any men. We don't want to feel the shame. We don't want to feel the guilt. We want to feel the hurt. So as long as we keep quiet about it, we're okay and everything's okay. Hey, how you feeling, Joe? Hey, I'm okay, man. I'm great. Not a problem, man. I can, do this all day, 24/7. And the reality is it's not. The reality is that we're not, that we're just being torn apart at the shreds. So we have men everywhere in their own foxhole of their lives, shooting, going to battle, and they're being overrun. They're being overwhelmed by an enemy who's pursuing them by day, by night, by air, by land, by sea, by computer, by life itself. And you're asking, well, why are we losing this battle? Why don't we have the upper hand? Why isn't my life going the way I need it to be? Look back. And if you're seriously in a fight and look around you, is there anybody there? No. Most of us here tonight, we're all police officers. So if you were in a fight with a subject, the first thing you would call out if you had the opportunity, you would hit your radio and you call out for, an emergency call for a 315. You would call out for, for every officer within, in earshot to respond to your situation, to help you fight off this person who's either shooting you, who's either beating you, who's on top of you when you feel your life is threatened. So you're screaming for a 315 because you want another fellow officer to come in there to help you in the fight. You want them to come in there. You want to hear those lights and sirens. You want to feel that there's other people coming to rescue you at this very moment because your life is slowly fading away. And we do that. And we'll do that in a heartbeat. We wouldn't think twice about it, about jumping on the radio and just screaming out at the top of our lungs. But when it comes to spiritual fights, we don't do that. We're quiet. I mean, crickets, It's like, is this thing on? We're crickets about it because we don't want anybody to know that, hey, my position is being overrun. My life is being overrun. I got a slew of problems and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle these things, or I'm in a situation where I don't know what's going on, or how am I going to get out of it? And I can't see the sun. It's pretty much an eclipse, and it's 12 noon outside. And we find ourselves, so many of us find ourselves in that situation, in desperation. We want to shout out, "Hey, I need help!" But then the enemy is overwhelming us, and he's like, "Bro, really? You really want to shout out for help? I mean, is that what you want to do? You want to look weak? You want to look, lower than your friends, that you can't handle this? Come on, put your big boy pants on. You got this." And we buy in, and we buy into this lie that we can do this on our own. But yet the Bible from Genesis to Revelation is saying, don't go at it alone. Don't do this alone. Don't walk the walk alone. Have a brother with you. Have somebody who's going to fight with you. Guys, you need to find that man, or you need to find that group of men, or you need to find a bunch of men like that. And it's hard. For a lot of us, it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime to find somebody that you can trust, that you can open up yourself and say, this is me. This is not the me that you see at the barbecues or at work or at church. This is really me. This is the me that when the doors close, this is the guy that I see in the mirror every night when I wake, in the morning when I wake up. And some of us would freak out when we see that, that in our friends. But that's where we got to get past that and say, okay, let's fix that guy. Let's do something about him. Because we're not doing any service to any one of us when all we do is smile and pretend everything's okay and life is okay and nothing is wrong and this and that and everything is roses and cupcakes and rainbows. And then when the lights go off or we walk away from one another, and that's when, the old adage, and that's when the demons come out. And then it's you against an army and you're going to lose every single time. I don't care, you say, no, but, I got a great relationship with God, this and that. You were not meant for that. You were meant to fight together. You were meant to fight together with someone else, never alone. Never alone. Jesus sent his disciples out 2 by 2. He could have covered more ground, sending 12 out on their own, but he sent them out in pairs. Why? Because he knew that if he sent them out alone, they would be destroyed. He would have 12 dead men, but he brought back 12 back. That, those 12 men impacted our world. We have the gospel today because those 12 men went out in pairs and fought together, never leaving another man behind, never leaving their brother behind. You had Paul and Silas, you had Paul and Barnabas, you had Paul and Timothy, the list goes on and on. Joshua and Moses, you had David and Jonathan. When you hear about the great men of the Bible, you'll always hear, about their best friend, about the guy that they opened up to, the guy that they went to battle with, literally and figuratively went to battle with. Those were the men that we talk about today. Those are the men that survived it. Those are the ones that made it all the way to the end. But the ones you don't hear about are the Judas that decided to go on their own path. Or, Barnabas, who decided, hey, I've had enough, I'm out. And there's so many men that you hear about that in the Bible and you never hear the stories ever again, because those are men that went deciding to go on their own. The world teaches us the whole Lone Ranger attitude. You're your own successful man. You don't need anybody else. It's BS. It's BS. Because that's what the world wants you to believe. And the world wants to isolate you. And for the reason they want to isolate you so they can destroy you. And God is calling you into relationship, not only with him, but with your brothers. Think about it. Think about a man that can be that brother to you. Maybe you have that person. Maybe you have that friendship with someone that can just, hey, ask you anything. Anything, whether it's personal, private, it doesn't matter. Nothing is off the table. Do you have that kind of friend? Do you have that kind of brother? Or are you stiff-arming your friends and just say, hey, this is as far as you get, man. After you cross that's no man's land. That's a big minefield, so don't even touch it. And think about, if you live your life like that, the consequences that you're suffering. I urge you, gentlemen, I urge you with every fiber in my being, find that man that you can call your brother, that you can literally open up to, that, and just don't pick out a guy and, oh yeah, we work together. No. Find a godly man, a man who's looking for the heart of God that you can trust, because trust is a big issue here. Because you just don't want to start opening up to everybody and just putting your business out there either. I'm not saying that, but find a man that you can go to battle with, that you can, if he's under fire, that you're going to fall in his foxhole and you're going to say, hey, bro, we're in this together. We're fighting. We're going to fight our way out of this, no matter what. If we're called for an emergency call for an officer getting, beat up or in a shot fired situation, you go. You don't ask who the officer is. You don't care what agency he works for. You don't care his marital status, whether the guy is or the woman is a jerk or he's a great stand-up, guy. You show up for the simple fact that he's wearing a badge just like you, and that means you're on the same team. So imagine if we are willing to sacrifice and put our lives on the line for somebody we have no idea who they are, for the simple fact that we share one common bond of our career. How much would we do for another man who shares the blood of the cross with us? How much would we do for that man? What more would we sacrifice for that man? For me, there's nothing I wouldn't do. There's nothing I wouldn't do to grasp a man out of the gates of hell. I would literally fight to the gates of hell to get him out. I'm here week after week for that very purpose. Whether it's 100 of us here or if it's one of us here. Because I feel that each and every week we're here, we are fighting for one another. We're here in the foxhole together, fighting for one another, encouraging one another, praying for one another, fellowshipping with one another. But at the end of the day, being here for one another, to lift each other up, to fight for one another. So when you're in the worst situations of your life, you can look to your left and see a brother there, or you can look to your right and see another brother there. And you can look behind you and you'll find one. But just like Solomon said, woe to you who does it. Whoa. And it's scary. It's scary for me to think that there's so many of us out there that don't have that man in their life and have succumbed to the enemy, have succumbed to losing battles time and time again. Some of us lose and we can get up and come back. But some men have lost everything, have never regained their footing, and have left, the word of God, and have left the path of righteousness altogether. And some have perished, never to be seen from again. How many men do you know have walked away from the faith because they were walking at it alone? Maybe that's you tonight. Maybe you're at a crossroads tonight, and you're saying, man, I am surrounded by my enemies on all points. And I don't have the courage to reach out to one of my brothers and say, hey, man, I'm going through a storm here. I need you to pray with me. I'm not ready to tell you what it's all about, but I just need you to pray with me. It starts off as simple as something like that. Just pray with me, man. Can you pray with me? Hey, what is it about? Don't worry about it. Just God knows. I just need you to pray with me. Cool. And build off of that. And build off of that. And build off of that friendship. And build off of that brotherhood. Because if you don't have that, man, I guarantee you, you will not succeed in this walk. There will come a day where your foxhole is going to get overrun. And when you look to your right, you're going to see no one there. And when you look to your left, you're going to see no one there. And you're going to look up and you're going to blame God. And he's going to say, I told you to get somebody in there with you. I told you, I wrote Ecclesiastes just for you for a moment like this, but you didn't listen. And now you find yourself in this predicament. And now you're trying to fight your way out of a situation that's overwhelming you and the odds are strictly against you. Woe unto you. Gentlemen, think hard tonight. Think hard of that man that you need in your life that you can say, hey, you know what? This is a guy I'm going to go to battle with. This is a guy who's going to be in my foxhole. Or if you have that foxhole friend, thank God for that, man. Pray for him tonight. Call him up if you haven't called him in a while. And just say, hey, brother, man, you know what? You're my foxhole buddy, bro. And thank you for being with me in battles. And the ones that are going to come. And we're in this together, no matter what. You see, when I was in combat and I dig my foxhole, I didn't get to pick who was with me. We'd rotate, among the unit. Every night we had, 4 positions and you were taking Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, whatever, and you were stuck with somebody. And I looked to my left and my right, and I'm like, man, why did I get stuck with these 2 knuckleheads? And I'd be terrified because I'm in the middle of Iraq, and bombs are going off and people getting shot. And I'm like, I do not want to be next to these 2 jokers here because I know if we start getting hit, I got to be concerned about these 2 knuckleheads, and the guy that's shooting at me, up front. So I never got to choose those, but we get to choose our brothers who we're going to fight with in the spiritual battle. We get to choose our brothers. God has given us that ability. So be that man, be that brother that's in the foxhole with another man. But if you don't have one, then pray that the Lord places one in you. I can flat out tell you tonight, gentlemen, every one of you that is here tonight, I am in your foxhole. You need me to fight with you, I will fight with you. I will pray with you. I will fast with you. I will fight for your families. I will fight for your children. I will fight for you day and night. If we got to go to the gates of hell, we will go to the gates of hell to pull your ass out. I will do that. So considering me, you have someone in your foxhole. If you don't want me there, I ain't offended, but find somebody. Find somebody who's going to fight with you. Find somebody who's going to take your side and say, hey, two are better than one, brother. We got this. And we're getting out of here alive. There's no room for the single superhero. There's no room for the Batmans of this world or the Supermans of this world. You need a brother. You need a brother in the fight. You need somebody who's digging deep in the trench with you. And when you dig deep and you dig that trench super deep of your faith, find another man that's going to jump in there with you and say, hey, we're going to fight our way out. And your family situation, we're going to see this through. And we're going to pray for your children. And we're going to pray for your marriage. And we're going to pray for that addiction you got going on. And we're going to pray that you strengthen your relationship with God. And no matter what your situation is, you got somebody you can lean on, somebody you can be transparent with, and somebody that you can fight with. Gentlemen, who's in your foxhole tonight? Who's in your foxhole? And if you are by yourself, start calling out. Start calling out that emergency call and get a brother in there tonight to fight with you so you can make it to the end, so we all can make it to the end. Guys, that's all I got, man. The floor is yours tonight.